Hey folks, welcome back to another video. If you're using BigQuery in your organization, chances are that your data warehouse is working perfectly. The problem usually isn't storage, it's the last mile. Most business decisions still happen in spreadsheets. Finance, operations, and leadership teams review and work with numbers in sheets. So, what happens there? Someone exports a CSV, someone mails it, and someone manually refreshes it. Now, that's not a pipeline, that's not a professional workflow, that's friction. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to build a proper automated bi-directional workflow between BigQuery and Google Sheets using Sheetgo without writing any form of code or formulas. We'll pull filtered BigQuery data into your Google Sheets. We'll automate that workflow at a specific time and day, and also we'll write the enriched data back from Google Sheets to BigQuery. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we're going to be doing here is coming into our Sheetgo interface. You can get started with Sheetgo with the link in the description. And the first thing that I'm going to be doing here is clicking on New followed by blank workflow. Now Sheetgo gives you a couple of different ways to get started with your first workflow. Either you can define it in natural language and you can let AI do the creation for you. You can of course explore their templates, integrations, but for now we'll just go ahead and click on create a workflow. Now once we are in here, the first step you would want to do is click on add to workflow followed by automation. After which you'll be prompted to select a source, which in this case is going to be BigQuery. So let's go ahead and click on BigQuery. If you're doing this for the first time, you will be prompted to basically authenticate with your Google account, give it the right permissions to access and stuff, and once you're done, you'll see a similar screen like this. You can select the project that contains your particular data set. So in our use case, we're going to be using the logistics data set that has a data table that looks something like this, that contains all of my orders. So this is the data set that I want to basically import into Google Sheets, right? After which I'm going to be selecting my data set. That's going to be the logistics data set followed by orders, and it's automatically fetched the table. In case you have a couple of different tables, you can get that. And in case you want specific style of data, whether if you want it to be a certain set of data, you can of course write your own custom SQL queries. It checks whether the query is valid or not, and that's the only data that's going to be imported. For now, we're just going to get all the data from logistics data orders and limit it to 1,000 rows, and after which we're going to be clicking on next step. Now once you click next step, you are given an option to basically do some processing on your data, such as remove duplicates, process with AI and stuff like that. Since this is a direct monitoring feed that we want the raw data as is, we're going to be clicking on skip the data processor, which brings us to the last step. That's going to be selecting the destination of our data. That's going to be Google Sheets. So I'm going to be clicking on Google Sheets. In case you have an existing file that you want to add and tab to, you can always click on existing file, search for it and select it, and you can get started with it. Or else you can of course create a new file. You can give it a name, which in this case is going to be daily logistics feed, and it of course creates a new tab for you. And once you're done with these details, you can click on review automation, where now you have your final workflow visible here, where you can see that your data is coming in from BigQuery into Google Sheets. Now, to make this workflow truly automative, you would want to remove the need for a human to actually come in and execute this particular code. So what we're going to be doing now is clicking on enable automatic updates, where you can now set your trigger settings. That is when you would like this workflow to run. So let's say you get your logistics feed of the previous day at 5 p.m. and you would want to log it in maybe at 12 a.m. in the morning, or 1 a.m., 2 a.m. or something like that. You can always select based on a schedule, select once a day, and select the time between which you would want your particular workflow to run. So I'm going to say I would want it early morning. So I'm going to say 3 to 4 a.m. And I want it on the weekdays because I'm not going to make any sales on Saturday, Sunday. My offices are closed. So I'm going to do something like this. And you can click on save. And you can see it tells it's going to be running this workflow every week on every day at 3 a.m. So once we are done, we can click on finish and run for the first execution, and in a couple of seconds, all of your data from BigQuery will be transferred to your specific Google Sheet. And here you can see on successful execution, if I now open up my particular Google Sheet, you can see all of my data from BigQuery that was present here is transferred here, and this will be updated every day at 3 a.m. and once I come to work in the morning at 9 a.m. I can check that my details have been updated. And here we have created a direct link between BigQuery and Google Sheets. But now the true power of Sheetgo is not just reading data, but it is writing back to BigQuery after your team has enriched that particular data. So the scenario that now we're going to be dealing with looks something like this, where a finance team needs to categorize all these expenses and orders and stuff into a particular category. So they pull this raw data and they need to send back their categorized data into BigQuery. So what we're going to be doing now is coming back to Sheetgo. We'll click on new, click on create a blank workflow, followed by clicking on create a workflow, add to workflow, and automation. And for this workflow, our source is going to be our Google Sheets. So I'm going to click on Google Sheets, click on select a file where I'm going to be searching my orders data spreadsheet that contains my categorized data. So I'm going to select that and click on done. And in a couple of seconds, it will load up my tabs. If you want, you can of course import a specific range of data, but for now I'm going to be importing the entire tab and I'm going to click on next. There's going to be no processing, of course, this time, but because my processing is already done in this sheet and it's ready. And if you want to create an entire flow of it, you can always do that here. But for now, we're going to click on skip the data processor, where now our destination is going to be BigQuery, where now I can select my project. That's going to be project 2, and I'm going to be selecting the logistics data, but I want a new table there where I'm going to say updated transactions. And that's about it. And the writing mode is going to be append, truncate, or recreate. It's going to be append for this particular one. And once you have all these details set in, you can of course click on review automation, where you can review what's basically happening over here. You can of course always enable the automatic updates feature here, where you can set your trigger settings if your data is coming into the Google Sheets at a particular time and you want to update that back to your main BigQuery database. You can always do that here. But for now, we're going to be clicking on finish and run, and this will basically send the data back to BigQuery. So there you have it. What we've built today is simple but very powerful. BigQuery remains the governed warehouse, whereas Google Sheet remains the flexible business interface, and Sheetgo becomes the bridge between your technical storage and the business action. Now that's the difference between exporting data and creating a data pipeline. If you're working with BigQuery and your teams still rely on spreadsheets, give this workflow a shot. Get started with one, automate one feed, and then move to the other ones where you can extend them. Now, you can get started with Sheetgo with the link in the description. You can read the entire blog for more details around BigQuery, the Sheets integration with Sheetgo. If you like this video, then don't forget to like, share, and for more content, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.